please, please, please give a hearty round of applause for my panelists, creator, executive producer, Reggie Rock Bythewood, and of course, the legendary Olympian, Dr. John Carlos. Put those fists up.
Can we get a picture? Everybody put the fish up. Need to turn the lights up. Thank you. All right, I'm not trying to direct, but...
But you're going to direct.
Power to the people. Unity.
Thank you. Thank you. No.
Thank you guys for that. That was beautiful. Once again, Reggie, you have given us another powerful episode of television. I want to talk about the inspiration for this episode. Where did that come from?
First of all, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming to check this out. And thank you again, Dr. John Carlos. Such an inspiration to all of us. Just over like decades ago, I was coming up as a playwright. And one of the things we did is we brought my play into a detention center. And it's something that just always stayed with me. And this moment that we had when the play was finished, and we had a discussion with the incarcerated young men there. And then when we walked off, we just saw people like still there at the fence. And we leave free, which I think was really where the title "Are We Free?" This hour is called "Are We Free?" where it came from. And then the other thing too, when we got in the writers' room, I had no idea at the outset that we were going to do an hour of swagger dealing with mass incarceration. But one of my writers, the co-writer of this hour, Raquel Baker. Very gifted young writer. She was incarcerated when she was a teenager, and just an amazing success story. But she, realized that mistake that she made didn't dictate the rest of her life. Absolutely. So just with all of that, I don't know, the idea just came, I threw it out, and we just went ahead and executed it.
Yeah, there's so many interesting connective tissues, I think, with this episode, and so many synergistic moments, and I think bringing in Dr. Carlos is one of them. My understanding is that you zoomed into the writer's room. Tell me how that even started, because one of the writers is a former student of yours. Tell me how that started, and let's also talk about, the legacy that he brought to your writer's room, but that he even brings to this room that we're all in right now. I mean, that round of applause was for nothing. It wasn't for anything. It was for a lot of things. So, yeah.
Was that to me?
Yeah. So for both you guys, how did that start? How did you get him to zoom into the writer's room? What made you want to do that? And then what made you want to put him into this episode?
Well, we talked a lot about this concept of being a champion on the court and off. And so we just talked about various icons in our history, but particularly icons who transcended sports, transcended their sport. And as you said, one of our writers, Autumn Joy Jimerson, was a former student of Dr. Carlos, and she said, I can reach out. I was like, yeah, hell yeah. And then he zoomed into our writer's room, and we talked, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half. And it was an amazing conversation. But again, that stuck with me. And so when we started to do this, I just said, we gotta get him back.
Yeah.
And we have to put on screen what he did for us in the room.
Okay. And I was going to ask what that conversation was like. What was the messaging that you kind of wanted to bring to that writer's room that day, Dr. Carlos?
Well, I just wanted to be real with them.
Yeah.
You know, they asked pertinent questions, and I wanted to be pretty direct. Autumn knew how I was as a teacher, and I haven't changed any more walking up and down the street. It's a matter of letting them know that things that we do as black people, sometimes we don't put our passion into ourselves. We put passion into a lot of things, but we don't put the passion into ourselves. And I think Reggie, in his mind, his creation, he brings about the passion that we have for one another. He brings about the passion that we have for the sports that we're involved in. We're concerned about after the sports, what happens with life. We're concerned about what happened to our parents and what might happen to our brother. All of this is illustrated in this concept here. And at the same time, when you sit back, everyone in this audience, I'm sure, could reflect on the fact that they have a cousin or a brother or a son or a daughter or a mother or father that has been incarcerated. All of us go through these changes. But this is the first time that we actually taken this thing and put it on the big screen where individuals can feel and have a concept in terms of how we deal with this quandrum that we might be tied up in. How do we stop this and make our kids realize that one mistake in life will not control your life?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What was it like for you being on set and having your very real life history shared with those young actors and being talked about in scripted form? What was that like for you?
Well, I was blown away, first of all, because I'm no actor. When Autumn came back and said that she had talked to Reggie and they wanted me to come on the show, I mean, I was terrified because I don't know anything about acting. And unfortunate for me, at that particular time, I had just gone through a knee replacement. And they had given me a whole bunch of drugs for the pain. And they told me, said, well, listen, this is going to be a piece of cake, no problem. And when I got there, they give me all these lines, and you got like 2 days to remember these lines. And I'm saying, I don't remember who I am. I explained to him my situation. But as I stated to Reggie many times, and I'll continue to do it, that Reggie took, excuse my expression, chicken shit and made chicken salad relative to my acting skills. So I'm in full gratitude for Reggie here and the youngsters that I was involved with this series here. Yeah. Outstanding young individuals. Yeah. And I would hope that, God bless them and let them carry on with their careers because they were so natural and had so much emotion and vigor about these roles that they played. And I think they reached the audience just like they touched the people here. Anyone that watched it on TV, they told me, say, John, Dr. Carlos, Johnny, man, that was a powerful, powerful episode. And I think we felt like we hit the nail on the head because that's exactly what we wanted to bring to the people. Yeah, absolutely. Looked like you wanted to jump in there.
Well, so my experience in working with you, it's just an interesting thing because, you write a script and you write lines for Dr. John Carlos. Yeah. But if Dr. John Carlos switches up the lines, what are you gonna say?
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
And so what it was is we did have lines, and so the performance was always great because he's playing himself. So it would be take one, he'd say something close to what we wrote. All right, cool. All right, let's go again. We go again. Well, that was good. It was something totally different. Okay.
Well, the first scene when I met Ike, and I changed his name instantly. I changed his name from Ike to Ikey. And he looks at me and tells me, my name is Ike. And Reggie jumped in right away and said, I kind of like that name, Ikey.
Yeah. Because who amongst us is going to go against the king, right?
But, you know, we did script one line that we got from him when he visited our writer's room, which, you know, he says, "I am the fist." And that was such a beautiful line.
Yeah.
The other thing too, you know, while there was some fluidity in our process, but you know, I'll tell you, one of my favorite moments was not scripted at all. Well, when I say not, it wasn't initially put in the script, you know, so I wrote on the spot, and it was that moment where we go around and his fists are in the air. Everyone's put their fists in the air.
Yeah.
And it was just something that just really came from like him being such a special person and us all feeling the sense of community that I just did not want to leave the court without that moment.
Yeah. You know, I think that you know I feel this way about your work, Reggie, but so much of this episode, and quite frankly, so much of a lot of the work that you've done feels like a contemporary headline, like we're watching a documentary and not necessarily a scripted piece of work. And it feels like it's very important for you to create art in this way. Why is that?
Well, I mean, research is a big part of what we do.
Yeah.
Entertainment is a big part of what we do, but it's really, you know, for me, like, what are we getting after? And there's nothing wrong with doing work that is supposed to just feel good. I mean, that's very, very important. And I think in the course of Swagger, some of our hours of the show do that. But here was just really, you know, you've heard me say, Kelly, you know, our sort of mantra is get the audience at the edge of their seat, and while they're leaning forward, hit them with the truth. And that's our process in the writer's room. And so we really have to research the truth. We have to really understand what we're getting after. And when I first started as a writer a long time ago, when I first went into that detention center, I was like very idealistic with this idea of wanting to do work that could help make the world a better place.
Yeah.
And part of the challenge when you go through an entire career is to hold on to that optimism and that belief. And so as I present this to the world, on Apple, to the film festival here in Martha's Vineyard, there's that side that's like, oh God, I hope I can make the world a better place.
Yeah. Please, yeah. That was beautiful. Before I let you go, I want to ask, you know, one thing that, you know, I've always loved about this series is that you really take your time with it. You don't rush through it. And you give us these really authentic moments in this cinematic scope. And I think one such example is that basketball scene. It felt like we were watching real basketball. And I think it's because we were watching real basketball. Talk to me about doing that in one shot and why you wanted to present that particular scene in the way that you did.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, you know, as socially relevant as we want to be, we also got a little ego with the basketball. You know, we want the basketball to be the best shot basketball on TV, and so we're the first, you know, show that's put a camera operator on rollerblades, and what I wanted to do here was just do an entire game, because I've never seen it before, do an entire game all in one shot. So if you watch it carefully, there's not one edit, there's not one cut. We say action, we go through the whole thing. Yeah. Sometimes you see somebody missing a basket. Oh well, because we're not cutting. There's no redo, and some of it worked. Like my man who under the basket missed it. He missed it again. Then he made it. But you know, that's how, you know, we committed to it being that way. Yeah. So cinematically it was really exciting to do that. But just also like story-wise, the game, I really love this juxtaposition of the game feeling free in this incarcerated environment where people were incarcerated in fencing and bars, and so that was really a big part of the inspiration. Absolutely.
Well, another piece of beautiful work. Obviously, you can still continue streaming the series on Apple TV+. Reggie, Dr. Carlos, thank you guys so much for all your contributions, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
This conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing to the audience?
Please, absolutely, absolutely.
One thing I'm just going to say real quick to the audience, I know that probably something else has to come in. Number one, thank you again for being here. Number two, the finale of Swagger is premiering this week, dropping at midnight. And I just want to say, like, if any of you have watched it, if any of you believe in what you've seen, please go on social, drop hashtag swagger, because we really want to light it up. We really do think we have a show out there that's entertaining, but at the end of the day, this is for y'all. So this has been a grassroots, word of mouth campaign, and anything you can do to help us, we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Season 3, they shouting it out, season 3. Thank you, gentlemen, appreciate
Thank you.
you.
Hey, to the audience, I just want to tell you guys, thanks for the love.
Yes, sir.